Look, we might as well get started then. We've got a good quorum of people that's joined us, and this has been recorded anyway, so let's just crack on. And let me start by just giving you a quick update. So as of 5 minutes ago, we've got 52 runners. We anticipate maybe a couple pulling out closer to the time, so hopefully we'll get pretty close to like the 50 as originally planned. So of that 52, we've got 32 from New South Wales, we've got 6 from Queensland, 3 from South Australia, 1 from Scotland, but they're actually resident in New South Wales, 2 from Tasmania, and we've got 8 Victorians. And then the further breakup of that is I'm absolutely delighted to announce that we've got 17 females and 35 males. So that's the biggest representation we've had of females we've had ever. And then just another breakdown is in terms of newbies, we've got 30, and that obviously leaves 22 returning runners. And of the 30 newbies, we've got 11 female, 19 males, and returning runners, we've got 6 females, 16 males. So it's lining up pretty well. I think what's actually happened now is because we've actually got 30 newbies, then this makes this actual webinar all the more relevant. And what we're going to do tonight, I thought, we're just under 6 weeks to go. I thought it would really good to be really good to hear the perspectives of two sides of the actual race. So you've got a front runner, and then you've got a kind of middle packer, or back of the pack, or whatever. However good Greg's feeling on the day. So let me just introduce you to Ewan. Ewan has completed Coast To Kosci, as probably many of you know, in 2011, 2012, and 2013. All 3 of those races, he was the winner. He's the current holder of the most winning, what would you call it, trophies of Coast To Kosci. So he's got 3. And his fastest time is 25:56, which is just bloody amazing. And Ewan, for his troubles, is also the president of Aura. And then Mr. Wallace, Greg Wallace, done it 5 times. Did one in 2011, 2012, 2013, had a break, 2015, had another break, 2017. Slowest he's been is 43 hours, 43 and a half hours. That was his first ever one. And in 2013, he did a very honourable 36 and a half hours. So what we're going to do is just hear from both of these guys, and I'll probably do about 40 minutes, just ask them a few questions, and then leave at the very end for everybody else, just open it up to everybody and they can ask questions as well. So let me just start off by Ewan, how did you get into running?
Yeah, just before that, Mickey, thanks for that intro. Yeah, just like to say, it's just so amazing that C2K is back on the calendar. I know a lot of people thought this was ultra running history. We'd look back and go, you remember that race? It was like, coast to the highest. It was, never to be repeated, something like Sydney to Melbourne is. So I know a lot of people are so excited and so thankful that you guys have got this across the line. I can see a lot of people in the chat here that have run it before, and it's great to see those people back and new people. So yeah, thanks. Even though I'm not running it this year, excited to be part of it on the other side. Yeah, so running. How did I get into it? I always ran as a kid, like trail running, cross country. Back in the day, every kind of like suburban place had a fun run. There was no insurance issues. You just put one on. The local school would raise money. So I did those. Coast to Kosci, not Coast to Kosci, City to Surf. And my dad did 6-foot track in the 90s. So, I saw a lot of these old people in fluoro, handkerchiefs around their necks. That was kind of normal to me, but a lot of the ultras that are around now weren't around then. So it did take a while. And and I ran with Sean Williams' group, and there was a few ultra runners there, Horry and Blue Dog. So they're two guys that have done Coast to Kosci a lot of times. So yeah, hearing their stories, that's how I got into, you know, this ultra longer distance.
So those buggers are to blame.
Yes, yeah. Bad influence, yeah.
Indeed. Mr. Wallace?
Oh, I'd probably take a different end of the scale. I did every sport as a kid, grade footy, cricket, all those sorts of things. Gave it away when I was about 25, had kids. Got to about 40. My wife said I needed a hobby. I think I was fighting the demons a bit as well and needed to do something. Someone suggested I take up running. I laughed at them. A few weeks later, I ran up to the local park and back, which is a K up, K back. Thought that was pretty good. And then just started running, and always wanted to do a marathon, did one of those. And then some Scottish guy like you said, how many have you done? You'd done 40 odd by that stage. It made mine pretty insignificant. And then you'd done the North Face, I think. And I went, I might have a crack at that. And I did G&W, just the 100K as well, and got the bug and went from there. So for me, it was more about, that's the right word, yeah, but I was fighting the personal demons and those sorts of things, and needing to get out in the bush in the country and different things and experience.
Yeah. What would, Greg, what would you say would be your running highlight thus far?
Like, I suppose that can be anything from just seeing a beautiful scenic vista somewhere. Highlights would be two. One would
Not
be
only one.
Oh, no, I'll be really quick. I won't split them. One was running 800 Ks in Thailand over 8 days. Was a magical experience with my family's crew. It was pretty full on and great. The second was actually not an ultra. I was doing Sydney Marathon and pushing a young guy in a wheelchair who had cerebral palsy, and doing that with him, and then him running all on crutches the last few hundred meters to the finish line was an amazing experience.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Mm.
Ewan, what would you say is what would you say has been your running highlight thus far?
Well, yeah, I think my last training run with Greg was a real highlight. We knew about this race and we kept it secret from friends who were really passionate about it. That was a lot of fun. But other than that, I'd say, yeah, Coast to Kosci is like the highlight. You know, it's so iconic in like, you know, how it crosses Australia, the history, and, you know, showing the explosion of ultra running. You know, I've had like 3 really good races there. So, you know, that like in addition to like the atmosphere and all the lead up to it, you know, it kind of feels like it's still going on, you know, like I'm talking about it on a webinar, like what nearly 10 years later. So yeah, it's a massive highlight, this race.
Would you have a most memorable one?
Maybe the first one. You know, I'd kind of like heard about it, and Andrew Vise, I'd paced him at G&W, and he'd encouraged me to go in it. So, you know, I had no expectations. I was kind of, my abilities were getting better. I'd moved to the Blue Mountains, so my training was picking up, and I think that fresh mountain air, you know, was great for my running. So that, you know, like not knowing what to expect and just that rich experience. Yeah, so that was a really, I guess, yeah, the most impressive one, real highlight.
Greg, would you have a most memorable Coast to Kosci?
I'll go the other end of the scale. I'll go being near midnight up on top of Kosci under a full moon, having a few hallucinations, having spiders slowly go across the trail. Before that, being getting into Lake Jindabyne to try and unlock the quads a bit, get some cold water into the quads. Everything, that was a shocker. It was a real shocker, that one. And that way is memorable. Look, they're all memorable, but that one for all the wrong reasons, for all the bad stuff, but you survive, you come out the other end.
You do indeed.
Well, wasn't there something you just texted me beforehand? That sounded pretty memorable. That might not.
Well, actually, that one started out very
Keep it clean. Keep it clean.
I ran with Pam Muston for about the first 60K. That was a lot of fun, and Pam was I think she'd won it the year before by memory. That was a lot of fun, and then I obviously started tanking after about 100K. But I got to about Perisher, and the chafing was bad, and it was really bad. And I actually had no skin on the inside of my legs, and certain parts of my anatomy would swing to one side, stick on the red raw flesh, and then if you leant the other way, they'd swing off and hit the other side and stick to the red raw flesh. And it took me about 3 weeks of daily nurse care by my wife to get me back in. And some of the things the kids saw, they never want to see again.
They're scarred for life, aren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have some tips on body glide and things like that later. And even for the cruise, like it doesn't finish like once you come back to Charlotte's. You know, it's days later that you can't get out of bed, you can't shower. Yeah, you need a nurse.
So just on that note then, Ewan, like we kind of spoke about support crew, and it's arguably one of the most important factors in successfully completing Coast to Kosci. What would you say you need most from a support crew?
Oh yeah, we just have to put one foot in front of the other, and it's a crew that keep you moving forward, keep you fed. So things that I would do with the crew, I'd have an organized run sheet and take them through it before, so they knew all about my gear, nutrition, what to do if I had any issues. So I'd run through scenarios of any muscular things, energy, motivation. So you kind of talk that through, so then they can just help you instead of just guessing it. Also, I think it's good if the crew don't bring you into any issues that are going on. They just get you moving forward, and they're dealing with finding your gear, any of that. I've had my crew one year they had a flat battery, another they hit a kangaroo, and I knew nothing about this till after, because you don't want to be worried about it. You just want to keep running. And also I usually don't stop for anything. So if I'm changing a shirt, I'll try and run through, get it off, put on some body glide, get that on. Food, I'll get it handed off. So it's not stop start all the time. You kind of you keep moving forward. So crew's really important in that, to be spread out or to have things ready. But then also sometimes you just want to run. If you every 5 minutes they're asking you how you're going, do you need this? Sometimes you just want to run for half an hour and get in rhythm, and let your mind take you away. So all those things are important.
Sounds like you're a great advocate of beware the chair.
Yes, never sit down. Yeah.
Greg, anything to add there? Those were really good points about your support crew.
Absolutely. I'd echo your points, Ewan, and very important for the crew to keep you in good spirits. Any stuff that happens, keep themselves, they manage you, they make decisions on your behalf the more and more it goes on, and take care of everything. And sometimes you do need that space and just to be left alone. And I remember running from Perisher to Charlotte's after giving the team a gobful, and have these 5 quiet people in a bus looking at me. It was funny. But absolutely just taking care of you, but being very much in positive spirits and running, and importantly in nutrition. They'd keep a log of my nutrition and realize I hadn't had anything for whatever period, and making sure I was getting a set amount of either calories or different things, and trying a lot of different things as your appetite dies. So they're really good at keeping food logs, and making sure I was on top of my nutrition or removing it as a risk as much as possible.
Did either of you guys actually have anybody with a medical background or first aid qualifications? Did you find that mattered on your support crew?
Probably was good. If they're saying, "Oh, you're dehydrated, you got to stop this," it's better to have inexperienced people on the crew that just push you. Yeah. I think it is bad if people care too much and they see you're in pain. You want someone to give you some tough love, not medical advice. there's medics on the course. So from a safety perspective, of course, you don't want to do anything, but it's very easy to spend a lot of time treating stuff when, pains will come and go. And there's enough in the race rules about, things like Nurofen. We know we don't take that anymore. Being smart with your drinking. And yeah, the medic, you usually see them during the day, and you'll sometimes give them an update. I always said I was feeling good, even if I wasn't.
Yeah.
But you got to play that game as well with your competitors. You don't want to tell them how tired you're really feeling, or that you're struggling with something.
Well, I'm surprised you're drinking on the course though, Ewan. But I was probably a little bit alternate. Mickey, Julie, my wife, the support crew's got a medical or background, and it's a combination of an element of that plus knowing me as a person and knowing my body reasonably well about. So when I'm a sook, she can push me along.
Yeah.
Or if I think I'm going too hard to pull it off, or just to manage me a bit better on the way through. So I actually think it's good having I agree with Ewan. Sometimes you don't want super well qualified because they can, sometimes ignorance can be a little bit of bliss, assuming you're managing risks correctly. But it is good if you have someone who knows you, who knows your body, and knows the signs, good and bad.
So pluses and minuses there then. Here's a question that'll be really interesting to kind of hear both of your perspectives. I'll ask it to Ewan first. What would a Coast To Kosci training plan look like for you? And so give me an idea of what your heaviest week would look like and your lightest week.
Yeah, it was a little while ago, and I was a bit younger, but I would get up to like 160K. I think that because that's the miler, you kind of know, oh, that's a big week. I would have like 80K, like 60 or 80K road runs, and they would be every 3 weeks. I'd probably do like three or four of them. So they would really get the Ks up. I'd only run once a day, a rest day each week. If I tried to schedule 7, I'd always miss one. So I just just say 6 a day. What else would I do? Really specific road running, hills. So Coast To Kosci is an uphill race, so I'd make sure I can like run and walk up hills, especially when I've got tired legs. Yeah, so there were some big runs I did. There's the M7 bike path, so that doesn't have any traffic lights, so that was really good to get that unbroken running. Or there was Mount Victoria or Blackheath to Oberon. So that was kind of through all these farms and backcountry. So you kind of like feel that's quite specific. And then yeah, shorter weeks would probably be where I didn't go out for my long run because it was raining, or I decided not to. All of a sudden you're running 80Ks for that week because you're being a bit soft.
What about you, Greg? It's interesting to hear that sometimes Ewan doesn't get out of bed if it's raining.
Yeah, but bear in mind, I started this when I was older than Ewan. Is now. Look, surprisingly, mine actually wasn't that dissimilar. Probably I'd target the 160 sort of K weeks, and I'd end up doing a sort of 120 to 150. I'd like to get probably 4 60K runs in, a couple of weeks apart, and probably the last one 3, maybe 4 weeks out. But always undulating. And if there were if there's anywhere where it was a real tough climb and you did walk it for any reason, you'd power walk it. So that there was nothing lazy, but always undulating. But rather than perhaps, I always looked at the aspect of the climb was more about the downhill after it. So while the climb was good because you do a lot of climbing up, the downhill really helped build those quads. And that, to me, I always like that aspect of it as well. But so actually not that dissimilar from Ewan, but I dare say I was probably a little bit slower than Ewan was. You were probably home in bed while I was still trying to get mine done, Ewan.
Every run of mine's slow. I would just ignore speed running, like track running. When I moved to the Blue Mountains, it just worked. I think I had a really good year not doing any speed work. I was like, well, don't want to change it if that works. So that was a good excuse not to be doing reps.
Is there any part of your training plan, Ewan, that you would really look forward to? And is there any part of your training plan that you would actually dread?
Yeah, so those mega long runs, like M7 bike path, you're running by that motorway there. It can be pretty awful at times. And if you're doing 80 Ks, I do it like 10 Ks an hour. So you'd be running at the night, no one around, in the rain sometimes. So you could either, have a really good run and know that you've got a solid bit of training, or other times you get through half it and go, I'm pulling the pin, and kind of knowing when to do that. There's always more time to kind of, change your weeks around.
Yeah.
When you're doing all these Ks, I think it's also important to enjoy the runs and try and do them with some friends. People that are doing Coast To Kosci, it's always good to, spend 6 hours talking about the race and getting excited.
Cool. Greg?
I'd actually enjoyed pretty well all of it. I'd look forward to the long runs, like the 60s and those. And I think I look forward to the mental aspect of that. Ewan's point, always good to run. I'd like running with people as well. Some of the challenges would be that some of the people you run with, and invite someone at the last minute and tell you, and it'd be an Andy Lee or a Ewan, and you go, oh shit, here we go, it's a long night.
Surprise guest.
Back. Yeah, you're going to be hanging on at the back for dear life. No, always good from that perspective. And only occasionally, if you're backing up and you're going back out at night for a couple of hours after, and I actually would do some back-to-backs, but they weren't long runs. So you do your morning run, then you might do a back-to-back for 2 hours at sort of 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. Occasionally you dread those a bit because no one else is around. By the time you get home, the house is asleep. You miss just sort of miss a bit of that evening life. But no, I really look forward to those long runs because it gave you the mental, certainly for me, it gave me the mental confidence so that when I went down to Eden, particularly the first one, I was crapping myself, but after that, I'd go down to Eden and knowing I had good runs in the bank, had good distance in the bank, had good terrain in the bank, and actually felt confident that, yep, we can do this.
Mm.
Yeah, and you can have those milestone runs. 6 weeks out, I always do this one, and those repeat races. You can go back and then like compare them. Or how was I going there?
Yeah.
And then if you tick those off, then you can be on the start line. You've got that endurance, and you put the training in.
And it's all about kind of building up your self-belief and your confidence, I think, isn't it? Which brings me on to like the next point is, I think support crew is really important. Having a kind of realistic training plan is really important. Another one's actually being mentally prepared. And I was wondering, do you do anything specific in that regard to get really like mentally into the actual game?
So yeah, when I was in school, I did athletics, and it was like 800, 1500 meters, and we'd always like the night before visualize it, go through the race in your mind, like the start, how the track is, picture yourself doing well. So I always would do that. Like Coast To Kosci, you are sitting there going, oh, and I'm visualizing this bit and this, and I'm still going up here. So it's a bit harder than an 800 meters, but it does get you in that frame of mind, and it gets you positive, and you instead of being scared of it, this is going to be tough, or can I do it? You just picture it successfully, and then you've kind of already got that in your mind. Other things, you want to be in a good mental state, so making sure you got enough time for your thoughts beforehand as well. Not being on social media all the time. Like back in the day, there probably less of that, but you don't want to be up all night reading people's posts the night before, and you want to just have your own thoughts to get mentally prepared, I think.
Yeah,
I agree with that very much. Absolutely. It's just
a bit of a modern day curse.
Yeah, just a bit of space. And I know I think the big difference for me was once I'd done the first Coast to Kosci, after that training runs, you'd be going over a piece of terrain and it would remind you of Toowoomba, or remind you of the bit of the forest around near Big Jack, or those sorts of elements. And from that perspective, it helped get you ready. And again, knowing that you had those runs in the bank just made you feel good. And there'd still always be that nervousness and a bit of crapping the pants and here we go, but it was a bit of a build up to it. And then really important to being really in good spirits as much as possible.
Yeah. How do you remain motivated? I mean, like, there is a big build up to it. How do you keep that fire burning?
I'll jump in and go. Maybe it's the old school. It's very much perhaps the generational thing of more of fear. To me, a lot of it was fear of failure, and it's probably the wrong thing to be driven by. But a lot of for me was driven by fear of failure. Another piece was around the investment. I don't mean the financial cost. I mean, I've got a support crew of 2, 3, maybe 4 people who are giving up 4 days of their life and from their families and those things to come with me. Like they love it. They want to have a good time, but still they're giving up, 4 days each. Some of them, they're not getting paid when they take time off work, all those sorts of things. So it'd be fear of failure. I don't want to waste the support crew's time. And just want to make sure I enjoy it and really, again, that good spirits piece for me.
Really good points. Ewan, anything to add there?
Oh yeah, no, that's so true about the investment that not just yourself but everyone around you puts in. Like that's motivation, isn't it? They've taken time off, they're preparing, they're getting fit to pace you. Even like after those long runs where you're face down on the carpet, barely able to move, and your family's just like, you've been gone all day running, and now you're head down. There's a lot of sacrifices that everyone makes. It's not just you. So other than that, I'm not sure if you can see that, but yeah, the Akubra and then the pins. So lot of people are motivated by those pins. There's 3, 6. I think there's nine holes.
That's right.
Maybe Jane Trump has had to drill a couple more in hers.
In her hat now.
Oh, really? Yeah. So little things like that, it's just a little pin, but that's a motivation for a lot of people, to get there to start line and then to finish to earn one of those.
Yeah. On the other side of the coin, how do you deal with setbacks?
Well, look, for me, it's about being calm. Yeah. Like, maybe this is, for me personally, I think I'm a reasonably driven person and fairly, I like things a certain way and all that sort of stuff. But interesting, when I'm doing a run, I'm reasonably calm. I make calm decisions, rational decisions, without emotion. I think is the key, and it's just adapting. And sometimes it has been let the crew work it out, which is here's an issue and the crew can work it out. And sometimes that might be nutritional based. It can be something to do with equipment's not working. If I can't fix that piece of equipment, it's not working instantly, let the crew sort it out. They'll take care of it. They've got Google, they've got manuals, they've got other stuff. They've got 3 heads thinking about it, and you can just focus on what you're doing. But it really is just about adapting. And I think probably everyone on the call who's done lots of ultras, stuff happens. The longer a race goes, stuff happens, and you just adapt to it. And that's one of the learnings for me out of doing long ultra runs is you can adapt and you can do stuff and it works.
Cool. Ewan?
Yeah, if we're talking about in the race, I think it's like problem solve and move on. I've seen in different races people handle it badly. So I've seen a 24-hour race where someone was having foot issues and they went through shoe change, and then they were out. Like they just couldn't mentally get their head around this issue. Another, when I was doing a 200 miler in America, we kept going the wrong way. 200 miles is a long way, but we're adding on all these Ks going the wrong direction. and I was with this guy who just kept on talking about it, and I saw him like 12 hours later, and he's still going on about it, and then he couldn't even finish the race. It just got, he had so much energy into this, complaining about something that had happened in the past. So just, problem solve, move on. There'll always be another problem to deal with. So,
actually, Mickey, as a little sideline, I mentioned that I talked about that run before, that multi-day long run in Thailand. I know I had, I think it was third day, end of third day, might have been fourth day, really bad blisters set in. And my feet were a mess. I think my wife was talking to you after some event based on the Sahara events and other things, and your feet have been a mess. And the advice was just accept it, move on with it. And funny enough, once I changed that mindset, which just went from, Jesus, this hurts, to, oh, well, it just hurts. That's just how it is. It's going to keep hurting, and actually accepting it. Maybe that's whether it's a Buddhist thing to do. I'm a bit out of my depth on religions, but just that acceptance of this is how it is, and move on.
Yeah, it's a really good point. So, Ewan, the actual difference between your fastest time and your slowest time is roughly half an hour.
How many seconds was that? Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's an hour and a half in actual fact. How would you account for that difference? What did you do differently to kind of improve your time? Or was it just experience?
It's funny. Each race, I've kind of raced who was there. So I think more about like the people and pacing against that. Instead of having splits for everything. So like the first one, was racing. The second one, I think, was like 4 minutes slower.
That's right.
And then the third one, which I got the record, which was Joe Blake's, and it stood for like 5 years. It was like a really solid record there. But that was like racing another person, and we just pushed each other. And that year, there was snow from like Charlotte's to the summit. So I had to go through that, and I'd actually got snow blindness. So I'd lost my sight coming into Charlotte's. And that was another one where Paul's saying, oh, how are you feeling? And I'm probably looking at Diane saying, oh, yeah, great, thanks. Yep, I'm ready to do the summit. Trying to find where the trail was, and running through snow, not being able to see, having poles, having my crew try and guide me through. But it's just, you're just racing to those conditions. You're racing people, and it just was lucky that I was a bit up from other years.
And sorry, Ewan, that was your fastest time, which you actually encountered the snow blindness.
Yes. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. So yeah, you never know. But then if you came back the next year and didn't have that, you might have a storm, or it might be hot, or there might be a lot of flies that annoy you. There's so many variables for each year. I don't think you get a repeat.
Do you think your experience counted for much though?
Sure. Yeah. Each year you look at, okay, what are 5 things I could do better? So you're always, trying to make it easier for yourself. Your crew get more experience. But still, you've still got to run the 246K. I think it is tough no matter what.
So Greg, what about you? Because the differences between your two times is 6.5 hours. 2013, you did your best time.
I used to dream of the 4-minute PB, Ewan. I think
it'll come.
Look, the first one for me, I'd been doing, in hindsight, I was so lucky to get in. I'd been doing ultras for a year. I've been running for 2 years, maybe 3. And that was a massive learning curve. As I said, I ran with Pam, I think, for most of the first day. I thought, this is good. And then the wheels fell off about Gunning Rack Road there, where it joins the Snow River Way, about 110K thereabouts. The wheels just gradually fell off. I think second and third years, just experience, which actually meant the classic stuff, trained better, trained smarter, and reduced risk from that. I also had little goals for set myself, probably a bit different from yours, Ewan. So I think the first year we got back at some ridiculous hour, like 1 or 2 in the morning, said, no, it's not good. We've got to get back before the pub shuts. So next year, the goal was to get back before the pub shuts. We got back to the pub, but the food was turned off. So the goal for next year, which I just ran as a mantra in my head, was get back before the pub shuts while the food's on. And we did that. We got back to Jindabyne. The pub was still open. The food was still on, and the food was really crap.
But
that was couldn't eat anyway. Yeah.
That was the motivator. Get back before the pub shuts. Get back before the food's off.
Yeah. After 50 gels, you're going, oh, I just can't fit anything else in. Just have a beer.
Yep.
So on that subject, what does race nutrition and hydration look like for you, Ewan?
So yeah, before the race, it's all planned out, like hour by hour or half an hour by half an hour, usually all kind of like sports nutrition measured. So I go about 220 calories per hour, 2 gels. So I know that I don't need much more than that, unless it's maybe later. But then things happen. You might be sick, or you just say, I'm not eating another one of those bars ever again. And then you got like 10 hours of bars. You're like, well, what am I going to do? And you start eating the cruise food, or you're eating lollies and chips. So as long as you keep eating something, and something that you can digest and turn into energy, like Coke. That always seems to be that kind of thing. It can turn a stomach around if you can't eat. You sometimes that sugar and caffeine, and that's usually the last few hours is just fueled by Coke or lollies.
The Black Doctor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's probably not dissimilar to have a plan. For me, it was usually a 600 or 700 ml bottle of water every hour. Every 4th hour would be an electrolyte. I'd start on heavier food and then progressively move across through gels. I think the last year was probably the most different one. I got the guys to get me bacon egg roll from the Toowoomba Public School and a cappuccino. Got that into me. It just felt good. It was a breakfast and got me going. Really got me going. I'd have a pretty reasonably good nutrition plan. And then once we got to that second day, I know you were probably tucked up in bed by then, but when I was at the top of Baloka and the daylight would just be coming through, those little small little sachets of sweet oats with a bit of honey in it, the sugar just combined with the start of the day really got me going. Coke and water was always a good mix. And then I'd find the appetite would die as I was going up towards Perisher, and that would be lots of little stuff and just a variety. Then would get to variety. Cubes of watermelon were great. Just little different things to mix it up and try different things on your stomach and keep stuff down. Minestrone soup was good early, but as you got to get into the back end, it was just you lose your appetite. Whatever you could get in, you wanted to get in. But to Ewan's point, Coke and water was good. I could still probably get some gels in and the odd food bar by then, but it used to be just small stuff.
And the good thing about this race is you've got a car, so you can put the food in there. It's not like you've got a backpack and you've got to take all this light stuff and restock. So yeah, your crews can cut stuff up for you. They can like heat stuff up. They can kind of stop along the way and buy stuff. So yeah, it is a bit different to your traditional like trail miler or track race.
I don't even get pizzas. I'd even get a couple of pizzas the night before, just before the pizza shop shut in Eden, and have a couple of pieces of that during the day. And then what was there by the time it got late afternoon, the crew, that was theirs.
Sounds like you have 3 square meals: your bacon egg roll, your pizza, your noodles. No wonder you can't eat at the pub.
Yeah. And I tried to get a pie at the Cathcart shop, but the front runners like you would have cleaned them out.
Is that why Greg's more a middle of the packer rather than a front runner?
Perhaps so.
Just another couple of questions, guys. Sorry.
Plan. So it's just back to having you like you do normally when you're doing even a miler. You have your nutrition plan. You try to stick to it. Stuff happens, and you need a bit of variety and different stuff from time to time. But as Ewan said, your crew's there. You got everything in your car. If you've got variety, what you don't have, it just, when you get back, you just toss it because it smells after a few days.
Yeah, but the ultimate's to actually make sure you get stuff down your neck.
Yeah.
Any hints and tips you can offer our newbies?
For me, I suppose would be the classic stuff: train well. Secondly, would be enjoy the run. You've done all the hard work to get there. Getting accepted into it is just, I know I used to be so stoked when I just got an email saying I was accepted. It was just like, it was the highlight. It was a highlight of months of training and work. So you've done the hard work. You're there. Enjoy it. Stay in really good spirits. Have your crew in really good spirits. A lovely thing about Coast to Kosci is crews do talk to each other. They help each other. You get used to seeing everyone out on the course, and everyone does work together and help each other. And I think that good spirits is important. The cutoffs are, I think, reasonably generous. It's not too often you're in danger getting close to a cutoff if you're progressing okay. So you don't need to worry too much about cutoffs at all, but just to enjoy it, stay in really good spirits. You see some great sights, the sky and the Monaro Plain at night. It's just magical.
Ewan, any hints and tips you can offer newbies?
Yeah, so number one thing is to go slow and save your legs for after Jindabyne. There's so much of the race there, and I would always feel like I was going too slow, and I was like, that's great. That's how I want to pace it. Your legs can just turn, and then it's a long walk. So yeah, really, no one gets an award for getting to 50k, 100k. So make sure you're really looking after those legs. I'd walk most of the hills as well. So walking hills is a great way to save the legs. That will save your pace. Even in the heat, you want to be walking those hills. You want to be protected, with a hat, maybe ice bandana, water. Don't cook yourself early in the day. Wait for it to be nice and cool. So they would be some tips on like pacing, and then you get to enjoy the latter half of the race.
Yeah. So walk Big Jack, get food into you when you go up Big Jack. Same with Baloka as well. And it depends. Everyone thinks, different people say the race begins at the Dead Horse Tree. The race begins at Dalgety. The race begins at Jindabyne. I think enjoy the first part. It'll get harder. Just stay smart, stay safe, but keep moving. If you keep moving at a modest pace, and to Ewan's point, save your legs. I know that first year I cooked at 110k, just the legs failed. And what got better, one of the things, Mickey, for my times were just that the legs were better in future years, and I managed them better, and they didn't cook at 100k. They were fine through to pretty well most of the way to Jindabyne anyway.
So you and Greg, that's been absolutely brilliant. I think hopefully everybody's found that really informative. Any closing comments from either of you?
Ewan?
I think we spoke about most things. One of the new things, that flashing light. So I think if I was running this year, I would definitely train with one, make sure that it doesn't annoy me, it doesn't bounce. I'd make sure it's really small and lightweight, and have a couple of them. So I'd be thinking about all those kind of things before. And then when I'm running, it's not the first time I'm putting on this light going, this is terrible, I can't run with it. Read through all those race rules, and be prepared and enjoy it.
I'd probably just have confidence in your crew, brief them well, have confidence in your own preparation. Rather than rising to the occasion, you tend to fall to the level of your preparation. So make sure your preparation is good, and simply enjoy it. Speaking as a race organizer, Mickey, we want everybody to enjoy the race. We want people to finish. It has a 87% success rate. We want to, ideally, we'd want towards 100%. We want to make sure runners enjoy the experience. And that's from scenery, the setup, the lot. And my voice would be enjoy the race again and be in good spirits. You've done the work. Make sure you do the work and be ready to go.
Great. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Ewan. Listen, guys, we've got probably about a couple of minutes left. If anybody's got any questions for either Greg or Ewan or even myself, all you need to do is come off mute and fire away.
Hey guys, Nick Bamford here. Any thoughts on using poles going up the hills?
Yeah, go for it. You've got a car to carry them. It's not like a trail race where you've got to carry them the whole way. Make use of that crew car, and any kind of support. Just make sure that you've used them in training, and it's not going to be too taxing on your arms if you've never used it. But yeah, any help you can get like that, go for it.
I've used poles going from Jindabyne up, found it fine and beneficial. Other times I haven't used them, it's been fine. Where I have found them beneficial is coming down from the summit when the legs have been really gassed and you're a little bit unsteadier on your feet sometimes. I've just found the poles give that little bit of extra stability coming down from the summit.
And even
especially with snow. Yeah. You want those poles.
Usually there's still snow on Kosciuszko as you go from from Rawson Pass up to the summit. There's a bit of snow to negotiate, so the actual poles come in very handy then.
Oh, cheers, guys.
Hi, it's Lou here. I was just wondering about how frequently you're stopping with your crew. I've been told that a lot of people sort of run 5K and their crew's there, and it sounds like kind of crazy stop-start, but this is different to anything I've ever done before. So just interested to get your kind of feedback on that, or maybe that's just more towards the end.
Yeah, look, Lou, I'd find after Toowoomba when you cruise there, you're meeting up, and then if I was fine, they would go ahead and they'd just say we're going ahead 5, and that might be 4, 8, whatever, and I'd be fine. The first day I was probably then a little bit differently through the night, and or the second day from Jindabyne up, they'd tend to almost shadow me on the opposite side of the road going from Jindabyne up. But very much it was like, no, I'm fine. I don't need anything. I'm enjoying this countryside. It's a nice wide dirt road. They'll go up and they'll rest. But when we met up, it would just be a case of, do you need anything? And if I don't need anything, I'll just keep going. Or if I want to change your clothes, to Ewan's point, they throw me a shirt, I'll put it on. Or they pass me a bottle as I run past. So it wasn't a case of we go 5Ks, we stop. Every now and then I might have a massage or something, which Jane Trumper used to laugh heartily at as she ran past me. But it wouldn't be a case of go 5K and then have a power wow for 10 minutes. It would just be check, do I need anything? It's almost like running through a checkpoint that you wouldn't normally stop at. So you don't get into a real stop-start.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah, with that, yeah, they will come past. You'll find like a cadence that works for them and you. You might try and plan it now, but it might work out, differently on the day, depending how many cars are about, how close people are. There's, some new race rules around that, and safety. But yeah, like, just don't stop. They come to you, and then later you'll have a pacer, and the pacer can interact with the car as well. So yeah, you're on the other side of the road, except for the climbs, I think. And so you definitely won't feel it's too much because they're giving you water and food. So
and the pacer can
quite nice to.
The pacer can act as a mule for you and be the runner backwards and forwards to the vehicle, so it works.
Okay, and the pacer's allowed to do that?
Yeah, pacer.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
Last question. Last opportunity for a question. All good. Folks, hopefully everybody did find that informative. I certainly did. I found out a few new things. Ewan, thanks a million. Thanks for everything you've done for C2K thus far, and for what you'll do in the future as well. Greg, we're kind of like each day I think we're actually doing a brilliant thing here. So let's hope we can continue to do that and we put on a brilliant event.
Mm.
So
Next
thanks.
Next time when Ewan brings his, I know he's bringing his 3-pin hat, I'll bring my 5-pin hat. And I'll get Jane off one of those 10-pin hat.
Challenge, yeah.
8-pin hat.
Pin off. Yeah. Well, looking forward to that. Yeah, being there at Eden and everyone there with their hats and their pins and their stories. Yeah, we're all looking forward to it.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you shortly.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.